Voltamos mais uma vez pela
We're
graça
back
de
here
Deus
again with God's
para
grace
reviver com você
to relive,
as
along with
revelações das
you,
7 eras
the
da
revelation
igreja,
of the 7 ages of the
apresentada a
church
nós
presented to
por
us
profeta,
by a prophet,
o irmão Brana,
Brother
que nos
Branham,
trouxe
that brought
uma
us
visão
a vision,
clara
a broad and
para
clear vision,
estabelecermos a nossa
in
fé
order for us to
naquilo
establish
que
our
está
faith
escrito.
on
Se há
what's
uma
written.
coisa que me dá segurança de
If there's a
fazer,
thing that gives me
pregar
safety,
esta
is to
mensagem
preach this
revelada, porque o
revealed
profeta
message,
nos
because the
trouxe
prophet
para a Bíblia.
brought us
Não há
back to the
nenhum
Bible.
desvio
There is no
doutrinário
deviation,
do
no
que a
doctrinal
palavra ensinou
deviation.
e
The
como
way
foi mostrado. Por
is
exemplo,
written
no nosso último
is how
programa
it's
nós
shown to
falamos
us.
sobre
For instance, in our
a
last
era da
video,
igreja de
we
Pérgamo.
talked
Lá
about
atrás,
the age of the
eles se
Church of
casaram com a
Pergamum.
política,
Back
se
there, they
casaram
married
com o
with
Estado
politics, they married with
e
the state,
automaticamente
and
tiveram que
automatically
abraçar
they had to embrace
de
several
doutrinas, de
doctrines and
ensinamentos, de
wrong
coisas erradas
teachings
conquistada por
of wrong
espírito
things
nicolaitas,
conquered by
e
a
aqui na era
Nicolaítan
de
spirit,
Pérgamo
that here in the age
agora se
of
torna
Pergamum
uma doutrina. Lá atrás
became a
era
doctrine.
apenas
Back
algo
there was
sorrateiro.
only something
Era chamado de
stealthy,
obras dos
subtle.
nicolaítas e o profeta
It
William
was
Branham
called
disse
the work of the
era apenas
Nicolaitans,
dito, era
and the
apenas
prophet
algo
said that it
muito
was only
sutil,
a dictum,
mas
something
agora
very
se
subtle.
estabeleceu
But
como
now it
doutrina,
was established
forma de
as a
crer.
doctrine, a
Doutrina
way
é
of
forma de
believing.
crer.
Doctrine
Você pode
means a
prestar
way of
atenção
believing. You
que
can pay
quando uma
attention that
pessoa
when a
se
person
desvia
is deviated
doutrinariamente,
from
ou
a
seja, sai
doctrine,
daquilo
which
que
means
o
abandons
mensageiro da
what the
era falou,
messenger
aqui
of
estamos
that
vendo que
period
o
said.
mensageiro da
And
era
here we
era
are seeing
Martim,
that the messenger
mas
of the
Martim
time was
deveria estar
Martin,
estabelecido no que
but Martin
Paulo
should
falou.
be established on
Mas
what Paul
quando
said. But
desvia-se
when
doutrinariamente,
there is a doctrinal
sabe,
deviation, o
espírito
subtly
nicolaíta vem e
the
entra e dá
Nicolaitan spirit
toquezinho só, diz,
came
não,
and entered
não precisa
with a
ser
little touch
tão
and said,
fiel assim
no, you
ao
shouldn't be
padrão
so
estabelecido pelo
faithful to the
mensageiro.
pattern established by
Nós
the
podemos fazer
messenger.
diferente.
We can do it a little
Nós temos a
differently.
variação
We have the
de
variation
região, de
of
costumes,
region,
de
of
cultura.
behaviors
Daqui
and
pouquinho você
cultures,
tem uma
and
outra
then you
coisa
have something
completamente diferente
entirely different
do
from
padrão
what
que foi
the
estabelecido.
established pattern was.
Gostaria que você olhasse
I would
aqui
like you
na
to
era de
look
Pérgamo,
into
que
the age
eles
of
se
Pergamum,
comprometeram e se
that
casaram.
they
Se
compromised
casaram
themselves
com a
and
política,
got
se
married.
casaram com o
Got
Estado, e
married
daqui
to
pouquinho
politics, to the state,
Constantino
and then
convidou eles
Constantine
para
invited them
alguns dias
for
lá
a
em
few days
Niceia,
in
discutir, por
Nicaea in
exemplo,
order to
a
discuss,
deidade
for
de
instance,
Cristo.
the
Foi ali
deity of
então que se
Christ. And
estabeleceu
that
a
was where the
doutrina, olha,
doctrine
forma de
was
crer,
established.
a
Look,
Trindade. Foi ali
doctrine,
que
the way of
estabeleceu a
believing
forma
of the Trinity.
para mudar o
That's
batismo.
where
Foi
the
ali
formula to change
também,
the
alguns
baptism
anos mais
was born.
tarde,
Was
que
there a
deu
few years
origem
later
ao
that
nascimento
also
da
was
festa
born the
natalina,
origin of
de
the
onde vem
Christmas festivities.
que o
That's where the
nascimento de Jesus
belief
foi em
that
25
Christ
de
was born
dezembro.
in December
Vamos
25th came
substituir
from.
o nascimento de
Let's replace
Jesus, vamos
Jesus'
substituir
birth.
com a
Let's
festa
replace
que
the party
celebrava
that
o
celebrated
aniversário
the
do Deus
birth of the
falso
God's
para
Son
aniversário do Filho de Deus.
to the birth of
Sutilmente
the
as
Son of
coisas são
God.
mudadas e
Certainly the
estabelecidas
things were
e ali se
changed
torna
and
uma doutrina
established,
e as
and that
pessoas se
became a
tornam
doctrine,
prisioneiras
and the
daquele
people
espírito.
became
Ali
prisoners of that
está
spirit.
a
And that
doutrina
is the
nicolaíta, o
Nicolaitan
domínio, o
doctrine,
abandono da
the
palavra,
domain, the
sair
abandon
fora
of the
do
word,
espírito, da liderança do espírito, para
abandoning the
seguir a
leadership of the
liderança
Spirit
do homem.
and
Mas
following the
você
leadership
sabe que
of
isto
man.
pode ser
But you know that
dentro
this
da
can
própria
be
mensagem.
inside the message
Estabeleça
itself.
seu padrão
Establish
no
your
que o
pattern
profeta falou.
on what the
E
prophet
uma
said.
coisa que eu gostaria de
And one
chamar sua
thing that I would
atenção
like
aqui,
to capture your
para que
attention
você não
here
se
so that
casasse com
you
espíritos
don't get
errados,
married to wrong
o irmão Branham
spirits
disse que há uma coisa
is
perigosíssima que é
that Brother Branham
deslocar.
said there is a
Sabe o que é
dangerous
deslocar?
thing that is
Se eu
to
disser uma
dislocate
frase
the
para
word. You know
você
what dislocate
e você
means?
fizer
If I
aquela frase
say a
conjugar
sentence to
com
you,
outra frase
and
que eu
if you
disse numa
conjugate
outra
that sentence
circunstância,
with another
você pode
sentence
fazer
in
uma
another
edição do que eu
circumstance,
estou falando
you can do
e
it an
fazer eu
addition
falar uma
of
coisa
what
que
I'm
eu nunca
saying
falei.
and make me say something that I
Portanto,
never said.
amigo, preste
So,
atenção no que eu vou
friend,
dizer.
pay
Quando
attention
alguém
to what
vier
I'm
a
about to
você,
say. When someone
mostrar a você
comes to you and shows
parágrafo
to
que
you
o
a
irmão Branham
paragraph
disse
that Brother
alguma
Branham said
coisa,
something,
lembre-te
remember this,
disto. Olha, isto é
that is to
deslocar a
dislocate the
palavra.
word.
Nós
We need
precisamos assim,
to,
quando você
when you see
ver
someone
alguém
bringing you a paragraph here and another there. He's mounting a different message to what the prophet really preached. He's taking the message in a subtle way so that you can enter his doctrine and become conquered by this conqueror that is the head of a Nicolaitan spirit. So here we have the spirit denouncing like this. In the same way, there are also some among you who follow the teaching of the Nicolaitans, which I hate. You keep that in your heart. So when you follow the age of Pergamum, they were married. And God gave them as an example, the age of Pergamum, a man called Balaam. And Balaam loved fame and he loved money. He loved the prestige. Balaam was in the beginning so subtle. Look at the sagacity of the spirit that is denounced here as the doctrine of the Nicolaitans. He, on the first time that he talked to God, and when the servants of Balak came to Balaam and said that he has been invited, he said, "Even if he gives me a room full of treasures and money, I will not go." Seems like he wasn't after money after all. But after that, you see that when they doubled the offer, he gave in. There's an old saying in my hometown that says, where money goes and doesn't solve the issue, it is because it was little. Listen to me. Don't let yourself be sold by money and favors. And Balaam tried in any way to bring a curse to Israel when he went with the servants of Balak. And each time that he opened his mouth, God changed the way of things. And he had to prophesy good things when Balak wanted him to prophesy in the contrary way. Balaam's preaching was good. Pay attention. His prophecies were correct. Look at his prophecies. Jesus will come. It's logic. A star will be born from the house of Jacob. Israel is like a tree of sandalwood planted by the Lord. That was correct. That was the elected people. The preachings and the prophecies were correct. But let's go to his doctrine, his way of believing. Oh, when someone said, an isolated resurrection. Whoa, stop here for a second. He may even be preaching that Brother Branham is the prophet, that his message is the precursor, but the doctrine is not okay. He may even say that he came to reveal the mystery, but when it comes to the doctrine, he will say to you, no, he already came in a cloud, and you know that that was not what the messenger taught. Now, if someone comes to you and presents a paragraph here and another there and another over there, he's mounting a message, a parallel message. And it isn't that. And I can prove it to you. Take that very message and that same quote, that same paragraph, and read it in the Spirit from the first verse to the last one. And you'll be able to find out that the prophet wasn't saying what they were saying. So, when you hear about those doctrines, be careful. Be careful. Doctrine is a way of believing. See how you are believing in what the messenger has said. If you are believing on its fullness, or if you're believing in paragraphs mounted in order to do combinations according to this idea of those conqueror spirits that are nothing more than the head of this Nicolaitan spirit that wants to lead you into perdition. And the recommendation to the believers here is that if you remain faithful, you will eat from this hidden manna. Look, people, there is for the one who is faithful the promise, and there is nothing better than to remember of this hidden manna, which represents the purity, the originality, and that's what we need. Our next video, I will return to this subject. May God bless you.